Hello everybody, this is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with a video about Star Citizen common misconceptions about fuel usage and fuel and engines and maneuvering and the fuel compared to engine maneuvering. And I just want you to know that I have been following Star Citizen for an extremely long time. I've watched all of the Wingman Hangers and the Around the Verses and the 10 for the Chairman and all the forum feedbacks, and I've pieced together what I believe to be the gospel when it comes to fuel consumption. And then I watch a lot of these videos from other podcasters or just guys creating videos on Star Citizen, and they don't seem to understand the fuel usages. And so what I wanted to do was address that so that everyone can have a chance to understand fuel like I understand the fuel is. And this might help some people out. And remember that everything's subject to change. This might or might not be the actual gospel. This is my opinion on from what I've been able to piece together. My understanding is this. You have a number of different maneuver modes. You have normal maneuvering, like when you're just flying around doing your normal business. Then you also have boost operations. So when you press the boost and you get an increased output from your thrusters, that uses what we call boost fuel. Then there's warp. Okay, when you warp from, let's say you're at Earth and you want to go to Mars. Okay, if you were to fly there using your normal maneuvering speed, it's going to take you forever because you're only going like 300 kps or whatever it's called, MPS. So you're not going to get there very fast, right? It's going to take you days to get there. So you go into something called warp. And what warp does, it allows you to travel up to speeds up to 0.2 the speed of light. Okay, and that uses your quantum engine, not your maneuvering engine, not your thrusters. That's using your quantum engine. So your quantum engine uses warp fuel. Okay, and then another type of movement. Let's say you are trying to get to the jump point. Okay, you warp to the jump point, and now you're trying to open the jump point so that you can transition to the next system. Well, that uses jump fuel. Okay, you have to have basically 4 types of fuel. You have your normal fuel, which also operates your power plant, and I'll get into that in just a second. Then you have boost fuel, which you can use up pretty rapidly while, like maybe in a dogfight or something like that. Then you have warp fuel, which actually takes you to your 0.2 the speed of light to help you transition from zone to zone, like from Earth to Mars to the jump point or what have you. Then you have jump fuel. Jump fuel allows you to transition, or I should say open a jump point so that you can transition through it to get to the next star system. Okay, to be able to use the jump fuel, or even a need to even have jump fuel, first of all, you have to have a jump engine, and not all ships have jump engines. Okay, so you have to have a jump engine to be able to use the jump fuel. Every ship is equipped with a quantum engine, so you can partially controls your maneuvering and provides you with thrust and all this, but to be able to warp to your next system, you have to have the proper type of fuel, the warp fuel. Okay, then you have boost. Everyone can boost. Every single ship can boost, and all that does is it just puts burns. It's like, what do you call it? Like afterburners, basically. You have the engine, you can maneuver around, and if you boost, it's just going to use your boost fuel. Okay, and then you got everyone has normal maneuvering and power plants. All power plant, let's talk about the fuel now that we need to operate each one of these. First of all, I want to talk about power plants. All power plants, all ships should have, when you look at your ship, I'm backing up a little bit and I'm jumping around, but I'm just trying to make this understandable. If you take a look at your ship, all right, and every one of your ships out there has some kind of air intake, right? It looks like it should be flying in the atmosphere, like your Hornets have those big, huge air intakes on the left and the right. They also have the small one right there in the nose. And then you've got the 300 series. It's got the air intake on the top there. I can't think of like your freelancers. The front of the engines all have some kind of air intake. And then you've got your constellations. They all have those air intakes right there in the front. You know, I'm just going over a few different ships, but every ship out there has an air intake that'll bring in particulates from space. So when you're flying in space, those intakes are actually taking in very small quantities of hydrogen, because hydrogen is everywhere. The vacuum of space is not completely empty. It does have particulates, little molecules. It has things in it, just so small that we call it a vacuum, right? So your ships are scooping up hydrogen. All power plants have what's called a fuel purification device, okay? I'm not sure what they're calling it in Star Citizen. But this fuel purification, it takes those hydrogen particles, purifies it, as in it discards all of the non-hydrogen particles that it's scooping up, because we don't use anything other than hydrogen for our fuel. Well, we also use antimatter. That's a totally different story. To keep your power plant functioning, what it does is you're flying around, doing your average everyday maneuverings, you gradually scooping up minuscule amounts of hydrogen, and that powers your power plant. So your power plant is going to stay powered indefinitely and will not power down, because just normal maneuvering around space is going to keep your power plant functioning. So don't worry about having to get power to keep your ship functioning. It's not just going to shut off in deep space. So you will be able to normally maneuver in space using normal maneuver fuel, which is provided by the power plant, and you'll never run out just due to normal flight. Okay, boost fuel. Boost fuel is it's a type of fuel. It's like rocket fuel. Let's just call it that. It's like rocket fuel that's like high octane fuel that's stored in your ship, and it's allocated each of your thrusters, and that when you press your boost button, it burns this fuel. And when all that fuel is burned, it's gone. It's depleted. You would need to purchase or refine your own fuel. Okay, there are some ships that have fuel refineries. Okay, now if your ship has a refinery, it can refine its own fuel in various ways, and maybe we won't talk about that. But your ship, basically, you'll boost, and you will be empty. And then you'll have to go purchase it or get it somehow. Now, warp fuel. Okay, now this is the fuel that you would most commonly purchase, is warp and jump fuel. That's what I'm thinking. You're going to use warp to travel fast between stellar from different areas in space. Like maybe you're out at Jupiter and you need to get to Mars real quick. You go 0.2 the speed of light. That's going to burn up some of your warp fuel. How much warp fuel will your ship carry? So will determine how far you can warp before you need to refuel. My guess is you're going to be able to warp fuel all around the system a number of times, 10, 20 different laps around the solar system before you'll need to replenish warp fuel, because I do believe that warp fuel is kind of a efficient fuel type, and that'll be based on if you purchase refined warp fuel, or if you get non-refined, or if you get really highly refined. It just depends. It's like your octane, right? Your depending on what octane you get will determine what kind of duration you'll get and how much fuel mileage you're going to get out of that. Now, I know you have to purchase this. I do not know if scooping around, like scooping a gas giant and using your power plant's fuel purification plant is going to provide you with warp fuel. That's something I'm not sure about. Probably not. You're probably going to need to have some kind of refinery. Well, there's going to be some ships like the Starfarer and other fuel carrying ships that are going to have refineries. And so they're not just going to be able to purify the fuel, but they're also going to be able to take some time, take that refined, the purified fuel, and they're going to be able to refine it into a higher octane and be able to sell it like that. So that's your warp fuel. Now there's the most important piece of fuel that you're probably ever going to need to purchase, and that is your jump fuel. Okay, jump fuel, what that is, and it will probably have to be refined. Now, I'm not saying you probably can't jump on non-refined or just purified fuel, but it might become more hazardous. Because what it does is when you're at the jump point, you don't just go to a jump point and jump into it. You have to have a jump engine that creates your jump bubble around your ship that opens the jump point so that you can enter it. And your ship needs to have what's called a jump engine to be able to perform that task. And it will burn a considerable amount of jump fuel to open that. And that will be based on things like which type of jump engine you have, because different jump engines will have different EM signatures. They're going to have duration of how long it takes between jumps, because it might be like you can jump once a day with a jump engine and you gotta let it cool off or something like that. There's other things we'll let you know, like what size of a jump point it'll allow you to open and how fast it will actually open the jump point. There's a lot of variables for your jump engines that they've already talked about. Those will be like the different price points when you buy your jump engine will determine like what kind of jump engine you get. But some of them will have better fuel efficiency than others. And when you have, and I'm sure the size of your ship will determine how much jump fuel it takes and things like that. So your ship will burn up jump fuel, and then it'll open the jump point, and then you'll enter it, and you'll go on, and you'll maneuver on through it, and then you'll enter the next system, and then you'll use your normal maneuvers and your warp fuel in the next system. And you'll be, depending on how much jump fuel it uses, you might not have enough jump fuel to make a second jump because it'll have burned up all your jump fuel. So you'll have to purchase jump fuel when you get to the next system. Or your ship might be equipped with an additional jump fuel tanks. And if that's the case, then maybe you can make 2 jumps. Or maybe most ships are equipped to make 2 jumps, and if you want to make 3 or 4, you got to have extra jump fuels or jump tanks. Now, how does that impact you? Well, how does this? Okay, let's envision normal, average, everyday operation of a ship. Okay, now let's take a ship that has your average jump engine. It also, every ship has a quantum drive. It has some boost fuel. And of course, you've got your power plant with purification plant that's built into your power plant. Okay, you take off from your planet. I'm going to use Earth as an example. You take off from Earth and you're using your normal maneuvering and power plant operations. You're not burning any fuel. You're not burning any fuel. So you can just normally take off and you can fly all the way out to orbit, and then you flying around in orbit, just taking in the sights, and then you decide you want to go to the moon base. You decide, okay, let's go to moon base Alpha because you've got a mission to go out there and maybe pick up a package. Okay, some ice cream. No, I don't know. pick up a package at Moonbase. Well, if you just flew there using your normal maneuvering thrusters, it's going to take you a day or two to get there, and that's game time. So you don't want to do that. So it might be a few hours of game time to fly because of accelerated 5-to-1 time span or whatever they're going to use in Star Citizen Persistent Universe. We don't know. So instead of taking the 2 hours to fly there, putting it on an autopilot and just going to the kitchen and making a sandwich, you decide you're going to go ahead and warp there, which everyone's going to do. So you press your warp button, X or whatever it is, and you fly like Star Trek. You see all the little lights flashing by your cockpit and everything, and you see the little you're flying super fast like the Millennium Falcon. You got the little white lights flickering by, and then you get to the moon. You come out of warp, and then there just happens to be pirates waiting for you. Okay, so you engage in a dogfight. You use some of your boost fuel, if not all of your boost fuel, and now you don't have any boost fuel, but you have one more opportunity to, based on your fuel levels, you could probably still warp one more time, and you haven't even touched your jump fuel. So you maneuver down, you land, you deliver your package, or you pick up your package, or whatever it is. Then you take off, and the pirates are there again because they respawned, or they don't actually respawn in Star Citizen. From what I understand, is everything's a 1-for-1, but I doubt that's really going to be the case all the time. I think they're going to respawn or replenish, or something. I don't know exactly. Each instance is not going to, I don't know about that. We're not talking about that in this video. But let's just say there's some more pirates there, and you dogfight these pirates, but now you can't use your boost fuel because you don't have any boost fuel. So you just have to dogfight with your maneuvering thrusters. You finish, you decide it's time to go on to the jump point. You decide to warp to the jump point. You warp to the jump point. It takes you 2 or 3 minutes to get there because it's not going to take you the 5 hours that it would normally take you to get to the jump point. And then, so 2 or 3 minutes later, you come out of warp, and now you go to the jump point because you're going to go to the cross-shot system, and you power up your jump engine. It uses up all of your jump fuel, and you enter the jump point and you go through your cross-shot. Then you use your warp fuel to get you to the cross-shot to drop off the package. Now you want to go back to Earth, right? But you notice that you don't have any jump fuel. You still have a little bit of warp fuel left because you haven't used all that up, but you want to refuel your jump fuel. So at Crosshaw, you go ahead and refuel your jump engines because your ship only has enough fuel to make one jump at a time. So you refuel, you purchase it from who knows where, and then you warp back to, because you still have warp fuel, you warp back to the jump point, and then you you power up your jump engines with your new fuel, and something goes wrong because you decided to skimp on your jump fuel. You bought the unrefined, dirty jump fuel because you were running low on cash, and your jump engine malfunctions. And then you can't make the jump. So you warp back to the planet and complain and try to get better fuel, decide to get better fuel, and then make the warp back to the warp point, the jump point, and then you power up your jump engines. It wasn't damaged, luckily, it was just bad fuel, and you make the jump. And then you go back to Earth, and then you notice that you have very little warp fuel left because you've been using it to fly around the systems. So you use your warp fuel to go back to Earth, which you have no problem doing. You land, and then you decide, now all your tanks are empty. Your boost fuel's been empty for a while. Your warp fuel's just now got emptied, and your jump fuel is empty because of the jump from Crawshaw. So then you refuel all of your jump. You refuel your jump fuel, you refuel your warp fuel, you refuel your boost fuel, but you never ever have to refuel your maneuvering fuel because that is fueled by your everyday activities of flying around in space. Okay, I hope that helps you understand the fuel usage and where you, if you're planning on selling fuel, how you could benefit by maybe hanging around the jump points and offering jump fuel, refined fuel, and warp fuels at different locations that don't have fuel stations or what have you. It's just there is a economy behind fuel because fuel has to be bought. It will have to be bought. Now I understand that you could possibly go to a jump. You could probably go to a gas giant and scoop fuel, but I assume that's going to be a dangerous prospect just due to the high velocity winds and the particulates that are in the atmosphere of a hydrogen gas giant. So, well, and where you could take advantage if you're a pirate, where you could take advantage of maybe hijacking fuel tankers and things like that. If you're a fuel tanker, where you could position yourself to make the best profits. All right, well, thanks for coming out and checking out this video. Remember, this is my understanding of how the fuel is going to operate and function in the persistent universe and how the different engines interact with the fuels. And I still could be wrong, so don't hold me to this, but this is just to help you understand better how the different fuels work. And again, it could change. I mean, we're so far out from the persistent universe that they might scrap it and start off with a new fuel system. We don't know. So I look forward to the persistent universe. I look forward to this type of fuel system. It reminds me of an old game I used to play called Traveler. I don't know if you know about that, but if you don't know anything about Traveler, look up Traveler, the role-playing game, and look at the fuel system in that, and you will see a lot of similarities. I'll see you in the verse.